Joining us now is House Intelligence Committee Ranking Member Jim Himes, Democrat of Connecticut. Good to see you, Congressman. How concerned are you about the failures, the security failures? Speaker Johnson is now saying that the FBI Director, Chris Wray, has a credibility problem after that testimony. And I'm not sure why he would be going after Chris Wray, who was trying to do the investigation based on, the examination of the phone and everything else that's going on in Guantanamo. In Quantico at FBI headquarters, in the research labs. But you tell me you're following this more closely, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see the Speaker's comments, but it's all of a part of the Republican Party doing their best to dismantle the American public's faith in institutions like the Department of Justice, like the FBI, like the Secret Service, which, by the way, isn't to say that accountability shouldn't be visited on the Secret Service where the failure was obvious. But to start saying that Chris Wray, with whom I met this morning, is somehow not doing his job is just irresponsible. The moment the American people fully lose faith in the FBI, in the Department of Justice, in the federal government, which of course is the goal of the Republican majority here, that's when we have anarchy in this country. What I can tell you is that, I spoke with Chris Wray this morning. Their investigation is ongoing. They have learned a lot. From the standpoint of the Intelligence Committee, of which I'm the ranking member, I can tell you that as of yet, there is absolutely no evidence that there was any foreign nexus here, that this was a terrorist act motivated by a foreign country or by foreign rogue elements. But there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of figuring out exactly, what motivated this guy and why he did it.
This is probably unlikely, but is this an opportunity, given what, the horror really that Donald Trump went through and his family and all the people who care deeply about him? Is this an opportunity to talk about doing something about these military-style weapons?
Well, I hate to say it, Andrea, but I've gotten cynical on this question. My home is 25 miles from the Sandy Hook Elementary School, and when the 26 children were killed by Adam Lanza, again, another, and I don't want to speculate about motives of the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania, but another, loner, alienated young guy. When that happened in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, I thought the murder of 26 kindergartners would certainly be enough to galvanize this institution to do something about the ready access to military-style weapons, but of course, nothing happened. So I hate to say it, but, my friends in the Republican Party are so beholden to the NRA, to absolutely no change with respect to firearms, that it's still going to be one heck of a slog, even though their guy was almost killed.
And at the time, President Obama cried in the briefing room. We all thought it was going to change the whole dynamic. Let's talk about 2024 politics briefly, because Kamala Harris is looking for a running mate. You've done the kind of deep work that the Intelligence Committee does. Is a week or so enough time to pick a vice president when we've seen in the past some really underqualified people chosen and they've had to pay a price during the rollout?
Yeah, I'm happy to say not on my side of the aisle. We don't have quite a Sarah Palin experience in the Democratic Party. Look, I don't have any particular insight into what the vice president's people are doing. All of the names that have been bandied about, are by and large governors and senators who have obviously been a long time in the public eye, are qualified, have run states, or have spent time in the United States Senate. So, what's happening right now is just all kinds of work to make sure that there's not a financial issue, to make sure that there is nothing in the background of these individuals that ultimately could, as you suggest, rise up out of nowhere to embarrass the presidential candidate.